I still remember her smile. Not the kind that warms your heart, but the kind that tells you you've already lost. The courthouse hallway smelled like old paper and cold coffee. People passed us holding hands, whispering promises, starting new lives. And there we were, ending ours. Emily stood across from me in a light blue dress, her hair perfectly done, her phone vibrating nonstop in her hand. She didn't look nervous. She didn't look sad. She looked relieved. "I think this is the best decision for both of us," she said softly, like she was doing me a favor. I nodded because my throat had closed up, because if I spoke I might beg, and I refused to give her that satisfaction. 5 years? 5 years of building a life together. 5 years of late nights, shared dreams, cheap apartments, and promises whispered in the dark. And now she was walking away, smiling. "You'll be okay," she added, placing the divorce papers into my hands. "You're steady, predictable." Predictable. That word hurt more than anything else. "I don't want a small life," she continued. "I don't want to wait anymore." She didn't say his name. She didn't have to. I had seen the signs. The sudden late meetings, the new clothes, the way she stopped asking how my day went. He was successful, confident, everything I wasn't, at least in her eyes. As she turned to leave, she paused. "I hope you find someone simple, someone who fits you." Then she smiled again and walked away. That night, I sat alone in the apartment we once shared. Half the closets were empty. Her favorite mug was gone. Even the silence felt louder without her. I replayed everything in my head. Where did I fail? When did I stop being enough? My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "She's already celebrating." Attached was a photo. Emily, laughing, holding a glass of champagne, standing beside him. The man she told me not to worry about. I didn't cry. I just stared at the screen, feeling something inside me crack and harden at the same time. That night I made a quiet promise. I would never beg again. I would never chase again. And one day she would regret smiling as she walked away. She just didn't know it yet. Chapter 2. The smile that broke me. When she walked away, she didn't cry. That was what destroyed me most. I stood frozen on the sidewalk, my suitcase still in my hand, watching her walk toward the man waiting beside a black luxury car. She didn't hesitate. She didn't look back. She smiled, not the polite smile she gave strangers, the smile she used to give me. People talk about heartbreak like it's loud, screaming, crying, begging. But mine was silent, heavy, suffocating. Her name echoed in my head as the car door closed. I didn't chase her. I didn't shout. I didn't collapse. I simply stood there until the streetlights turned on. That night, I went back to our empty apartment. Her side of the closet was already clean. The photos were gone. Even the coffee mug she used every morning was missing. She had planned this. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, replaying every moment I ignored, the late nights, the sudden distance, the way she stopped saying my name with warmth. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages. She upgraded. "You couldn't keep her. He's rich, bro." What did you expect? I stopped reading after the 10th message. At work, my boss didn't even pretend to hide his pity. "Take a few days off," he said, like I was already broken. So I did. For weeks, I disappeared from everyone's life. I deleted social media. I stopped answering calls. I lived on instant noodles and regret. Some nights I slept on the floor because the bed smelled like her shampoo. Then came the photos. A mutual friend sent them by accident, or maybe curiosity won. Her arm wrapped around him. Designer dress. Champagne glass. A skyline view behind them. She looked proud. That night, something inside me shifted. Not anger, not hatred. Clarity. I realized something terrifyingly simple. She didn't leave because I was cruel. She didn't leave because I didn't love her. She left because I was ordinary. And in her world, ordinary was unforgivable. I stood in front of the mirror, eyes hollow, face older than it had been months ago. "I won't beg," I said aloud. That was the first promise I made to myself. The second came quietly, but it was heavier. I will never be invisible again. The next morning, I updated my resume. The next week, I accepted a job offer in another city. The next month, I left without telling anyone. I didn't leave to escape her. I left to rebuild the man she never believed in. And somewhere deep inside, I knew one day she would see me again. Not as the man she left smiling, but as the man she should have been afraid to lose. Chapter 3. The smile that broke me. The day my wife left, she smiled. Not a nervous smile, not a sad one. It was calm, confident, almost relieved. She stood by the door with her suitcase, sunlight pouring in behind her, turning her silhouette golden, like she was stepping into a better life while I was being left in the shadows. "I've thought about this for a long time," she said, adjusting her coat. "I don't want this life anymore." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't beg. I just asked one question. Was I ever enough? She paused, then looked at me like someone looks at an old apartment they've already moved out of. "You were safe," she said, "but I want more." That word, more, hit harder than any insult. She walked out with another man waiting in the car. I stood there, holding silence like it was something fragile that might shatter if I breathed wrong. That night I sat alone in our empty apartment. The walls still smelled like her perfume. Her coffee mug was still in the sink. Her laugh echoed in places that no longer existed. I replayed every moment of our marriage, searching for the exact second where I failed her. But the truth was simpler and crueler. She didn't leave because I was cruel. She didn't leave because I was lazy. She left because I was ordinary. And ordinary wasn't enough anymore. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. I stopped explaining myself to people. I stopped correcting rumors. Let them believe I was abandoned. Let them believe I was broken. Because while the world thought I was falling apart, something else was happening quietly. I was rebuilding. I took the job no one wanted, worked hours no one saw, learned skills no one cared about until they mattered. There were nights I slept on my office couch. Mornings I stared at the mirror and barely recognized the man looking back. But slowly, painfully, something changed. My back straightened. My voice steadied. My fear turned into focus. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want her back. I wanted a life so full that her absence no longer mattered. And one evening, as I signed my name on a contract that would change everything, my phone buzzed. A message from a number I hadn't saved but knew by heart. "I heard you're doing well." I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I locked the phone and went back to building a future she would never be part of. Chapter 4. The silence that hurt more than words. Success didn't arrive with fireworks. It came quietly. 3 years after she walked away smiling, my life no longer looked like the one she'd mocked. The cramped apartment was gone. The unpaid bills were gone. The version of me who begged for reassurance was gone too. I worked longer hours than anyone else at the firm. I learned faster. I spoke less and observed more. While others chased promotions loudly, I let results speak. And they did. By the time I became a senior project lead, people stopped asking where I came from and started asking where I was going. And still, I never looked her up. Not once, until fate did it for me. The unexpected encounter. It happened on an ordinary evening. I was leaving a downtown cafe after a client meeting. My phone buzzing with congratulations over a successful acquisition. The city lights reflected off the glass buildings, and for once I felt calm. Then I heard my name, not shouted, not confident, barely a whisper. I turned. She stood there, the woman who once rejected me because I was too ordinary. But she wasn't the same. Her smile, the one that used to glow with certainty, was gone. Her eyes darted nervously, like she wasn't sure she had the right to be standing in front of me. Her clothes were neat but tired, carefully chosen like armor-hiding cracks. For a moment neither of us spoke. Then she smiled. The same smile she once walked away with, but this time it didn't reach her eyes. Power shift. "Wow," she said softly. "I almost didn't recognize you." I nodded politely. "No anger, no bitterness, just distance." "How have you been?" she asked. I checked my watch. "Busy," I replied. That single word hit her harder than any insult could have. She expected questions. Curiosity, emotion. She didn't expect indifference. She began talking quickly, too quickly, about her life, her job, how things didn't turn out the way she imagined. She laughed at places that weren't funny. I listened without interrupting, because for the first time she was the one trying to prove something to me. The truth slips out. Finally, she stopped. "I heard about you," she said carefully. "About your company. About everything." I smiled faintly. News travels fast. She hesitated, then asked the question she came for. "Are you seeing anyone?" I met her eyes. "Yes." The word landed heavy. She swallowed. "Oh, I see." Silence stretched between us. She looked down at her hands. twisting her fingers the way she used to when she was nervous. And suddenly the truth slipped out, not dramatically, but honestly. "I made a mistake," she said. There it was. Not an apology, not accountability, just regret, arriving late like always, walking away without revenge. I stood up. "I should go," I said calmly. She panicked. "Wait, can we talk again? Maybe coffee sometime? Just to catch up?" I looked at her then, really looked, and I realized something powerful. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want closure. I didn't even want answers, because I had already moved on, without her permission. "I hope you find what you're looking for," I said. Then I walked away, and this time, she watched me disappear. Chapter 5. The day she realized I was gone. By the time spring arrived, my life no longer resembled the one she had walked away from. The man she left behind, quiet, uncertain, still hoping, was gone. I had rebuilt myself in silence. Success didn't come overnight. It came with long nights, failed deals, ignored calls, and learning when to walk away without begging. I stopped explaining myself to people who had already decided my worth. And that's when Claire entered my life. She wasn't loud. She wasn't dramatic. She didn't ask about my past in a way that demanded answers. She noticed things instead. How I paused before speaking. How I listened more than I talked. How I chose calm over chaos. Claire saw strength where my ex-wife only saw weakness. We met through work, then coffee, then quiet walks where no one tried to impress the other. She never once asked why my marriage failed. She simply said, "People don't leave because you're not enough. They leave because they're not ready." I didn't realize how deeply those words healed me until I stopped waking up angry. The day everything changed was unplanned. I was attending a business networking event downtown. Nothing flashy. Just professionals exchanging cards and polite smiles. Claire stood beside me, her hand resting lightly on my arm. Comfortable. Natural. And then I saw her. My ex-wife. She stood frozen near the entrance, her smile collapsing the moment her eyes landed on me. She looked thinner. Tired. The confidence she once wore like armor now looked forced. Her gaze dropped, first to my tailored suit, then to the watch she once mocked as trying too hard, and finally to Claire.l. The woman beside me, the woman who didn't look threatened, the woman who didn't need to prove anything. My ex took a hesitant step forward as if the world had suddenly shifted under her feet. "Is that really you?" she asked, her voice barely holding together. I nodded politely. No anger, no bitterness. "Just distance." She forced a laugh. "Wow, you changed." I smiled, small, calm, unreadable. "People do." Her eyes flickered with something dangerous regret. She tried to talk, asked about my work, about how I'd been, about us. Each question felt like a rope thrown too late to someone already across the river. Claire squeezed my hand once. A silent reminder, you don't owe explanations. Then came the moment I never expected. "I made a mistake," my ex said suddenly, her voice cracking in front of strangers. "I thought I wanted more. I thought I needed someone stronger." I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized something terrifyingly peaceful. I didn't feel anything. No anger. No longing. No victory. Just clarity. "I hope you find what you're looking for," I said gently. "But it won't be with me." Her face broke. Tears spilled, not because she loved me, but because she lost the version of me she thought would always wait. I turned away, my arm around Claire, walking toward a future that didn't require approval. And behind me, the past finally stayed where it belonged. Chapter 6. The day she realized she lost everything. The wedding invitations were never meant for her. That truth hit her the moment she saw my name trending online. Not as a broken ex-husband, but as a man reborn. Photos of me standing beside someone new, someone calm, confident, and graceful flooded social media. My wife, the woman who once walked away smiling, stared at those pictures in disbelief. She told herself it was fake. She told herself I was pretending. She told herself I would come crawling back. But the comments didn't lie. "He looks happy." She upgraded. You can see it in his eyes. Funny how she left when he was nothing. For the first time since she walked away, she felt small. That evening she showed up at my office unannounced. The receptionist didn't recognize her. Security didn't let her pass. She stood there, waiting, like a stranger. When I finally stepped out of the elevator, our eyes met. She smiled nervously. Can we talk? I didn't answer immediately. I looked at her the way you look at an old memory, familiar but powerless. I'm busy, I said calmly. Her face cracked. I heard about the wedding. I just wanted to say I'm happy for you. She wasn't. Her voice shook. Her hands trembled. You left, I replied. You don't get updates anymore. That sentence broke her more than any insult ever could. She followed me outside, her heels clicking desperately behind me. I made a mistake, she whispered. I thought love was supposed to feel exciting, not ordinary. I stopped walking. For a second, she thought I would turn back. Instead, I said, I was ordinary. But I loved you extraordinarily. Her eyes filled with tears. I didn't know your worth back then. I finally turned to face her. That's the problem, I said. You only see value after it's gone. She reached out, trying to hold my sleeve. The same sleeve she once brushed away. I stepped back. I forgave you long ago, I continued. But forgiveness doesn't mean access. She broke down right there on the sidewalk. People passed by. No one cared. Just like she once didn't. As I walked away, I didn't feel revenge. I felt something better. Peace. Because for the first time, she wasn't rejecting me. She was watching me choose someone else. And that was the moment she finally understood. She didn't lose a husband. She lost the man she could never replace. Chapter 7. The smile that finally set me free. The wedding hall was quiet in a way I had never experienced before. Peaceful, warm, real. Sunlight streamed through tall glass windows, catching on white roses and soft gold accents. As I stood at the altar, waiting, I realized something important. This moment wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about closure. Years ago, my wife had rejected me and walked away smiling, convinced she had chosen better. She left without regret, without looking back. I remembered the sound of her heels fading down the hallway, the finality of it echoing in my chest for years. Today I felt none of that pain. When the doors opened and Emily walked toward me, calm, confident, and sincere, I understood what real partnership meant. She didn't see me as a stepping stone, a temporary shelter, or a mistake. She saw me as an equal. As we exchanged vows, I noticed movement at the back of the hall. She was there, my ex-wife, dressed simply, standing alone, eyes red, hands trembling as if she didn't quite belong to this world anymore. She watched as I smiled, not the forced smile I used to wear, but a genuine one that came from peace. Our eyes met for a brief second. She didn't cry loudly. She didn't collapse or beg. The realization on her face was worse than tears. She finally understood what she had lost, not money, not status, but me. I didn't look away out of anger. I looked away because I no longer needed to look. After the ceremony, while guests celebrated, she approached me quietly near the garden. Her voice shook as she spoke my name, like it still belonged to her. I was wrong, she whispered. I thought I could do better. I nodded once, calm, kind, finished. I hope you find peace, I said. And I meant it. Then I turned back to my wife, my future, who was laughing with friends. Sunlight in her hair, joy unforced and real. In that moment, I understood the true victory. Not revenge, not regret. Moving on without looking back. Some smiles are fake. Some departures destroy you. But the right ending doesn't hurt. It heals. And as I walked forward into my new life, I knew one thing for certain. She didn't lose me when she left. She lost me the moment I stopped waiting.